Las Vegas, famous, fabulous playground of the West. A wide-open town that never goes to sleep.
Vegas! Vegas, baby, Vegas!
Pack your bags and get ready for a different kind of Vegas experience with someone who knows Vegas inside and out. You're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Stephen Maggi.
Welcome to Las Vegas, a place that plays host to some of the greatest entertainers in the world, and you're going to meet one of them today. Jazz superstar Michelle Johnson is with us. She's played with all the greats, from Paul McCartney to Barbra Streisand. On Friday, April 19th, she's performing over at the Smith Center with a tribute to Ella Fitzgerald, a very special show, and we'll talk to Michelle about that.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places.
I'm really excited about this interview because we're going to meet somebody here in Las Vegas that is an incredible talent, has worked with the best and everything, and is a great singer. And in fact, we got her on today because this weekend she's going to be presenting a tribute to Ella Fitzgerald, one of my all-time favorite singers, Michelle Johnson. Michelle, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Really excited to have you on. Have you always been a jazz aficionado? I mean, has that been your favorite music since the earliest days?
Almost. I mean, I actually, my first music that I got into was singer-songwriter type music, Carole King, James Taylor, stuff like that. But my family also had a lot of jazz albums, and so I'd say maybe around 7 or 8, I started discovering the jazz standards like Ella and Billy and Sarah.
It's
Nancy
just such
Wilson.
Great music.
Yes.
And it never gets old. You know,
It
goes
doesn't.
decade to decade and people continue to love it.
Yes, absolutely. I listened to that music when I was a kid, and I used to put on all the different versions of the same song. So I would find the song Misty. That's actually how I learned to read, was reading album covers, reading the backs of album covers.
Oh, yeah.
So my mom would say, find the same word on every album. So I would find 7 albums that had the song Misty on it and compare the difference between Johnny Mathis singing it and Sarah Vaughan singing it and whatnot. So.
Yeah, and that's a great example of a song that can be sung by 2 completely different stylists and so forth.
Yes.
And they make it their own, and it's a great song either way you hear it.
Exactly.
You talked about growing up, and I think it's interesting. So you had music around you all your life. I mean, that's a great way to teach someone and also get them to learn music as well and get into the enjoyment of this.
Absolutely. I mean, my parents are very musical. My whole family is musical. Everybody plays an instrument or sings. But I didn't realize till later how much that affected my career choice, because everyone else in my family is either a lawyer or, you know, some kind of business person, and I'm the only like artsy person in terms of a permanent career.
Right.
My brother is a musician as well, but he ended up going into the law so that he could actually eat and make a living. But I chose the artsy path and didn't find out till I was quite older that both of my parents were originally aspiring professional musicians that just decided not to do it.
Wow.
They didn't want me to know because they didn't want me to go into music. They were worried about my livelihood. So it sort of eked out later in my life. They both kind of admitted to me, we both, wanted to be professional musicians.
Well, and you did it the right way. I mean, you studied this, right? It wasn't just so you went through all the right training and so forth. And you could tell even by listening to you talk, you're very eloquent and so forth.
Thank you.
The voice just sounds wonderful.
Thank you. I did. I was actually an English major, though. The deal I made with my parents was if I got into Yale, and because I got into Yale, my parents didn't want me to do a music degree because they felt that I needed something secure, the expression, something to fall back on.
Right, the backup.
So I was an English major at Yale, got my degree, and that is my fall back on thing. But I don't have to fall back on it. I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky. But I'm glad I went, and I'm very grateful.
Now, would you do that like with your kids? Would you tell them the same thing where, okay, you can go in and you like what I do, you can try to do this too, but have a backup plan? Or would you tell them to just go for it?
I would tell them to go for it. Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't regret that experience. I mean, don't regret going to a school like that. It was great. But I would say if I had kids, I would tell them do whatever you want to do. Because the time between figuring out your passion and pursuing it and then reveling in it and enjoying it is so short. It goes so fast.
Absolutely.
To me, it's just run for the roses and do whatever you want to do.
It makes a lot of sense because I've done different things over my career, but this type of thing is what I really enjoy, and I consequently always come back to it.
Yeah, this is your groove, right?
Right,
this is
exactly.
what you like, yeah. I do appreciate the life experiences I've had from doing different kinds of jobs, and that impacts my songwriting and other things. It informs that. But I definitely am a person that says, do your passion. I mean, Ella Fitzgerald was originally wanted to be a dancer. And she was supposedly a great dancer. She went to an audition at the Apollo as a dancer. She got really super nervous at the audition because she was they put her right after this amazing dance duo, and she chickened out and said, I can't go after them. So she decided to sing, and she gets up there to sing, asks the band what they know. They decide on a song, and she says, okay, I'm going to sing this song. She goes up there and someone in the audience heckles, what's she going to do? And she got really super nervous.
Yeah, sure.
Ended up singing. And that decision to sing instead of dance changed her whole life. She became a legend.
It's incredible. And I'm glad you're doing her because like her, you have that same thing where your voice is an instrument. I mean, I listened to Ella Fitzgerald I've listened to her all my life, and the one thing, you just hear what she can do with her voice, and I'm just so impressed with people like yourself that can do that. Is that what kind of excited you about doing this tribute to Ella?
Well, Ella Fitzgerald for me is the ultimate singer, the ultimate interpreter. And the reason I wanted to do it, there's a couple of reasons. One is she's always been my favorite jazz singer. Two is it's Jazz Appreciation Month in April, so I thought this was a great way to tie it in. And three, I have access to great musicians, and I thought, let's do something special and do a tribute to this one jazz artist instead of just a generalized jazz concert. So we get to drill down into the songs that people know and maybe a couple they didn't know, and actually get to tell stories about her. I love everything about her. And it's not an Ella sound-alike, because that's impossible.
Right.
Let's just clear that up right now.
Yeah.
There's no way. It's just a tribute to the wonderful legacy and her music and what she did for so many singers after her.
More with jazz superstar Michelle Johnson in just a moment. You're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Stephen Maggi, coast to coast on the Biz Talk Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Lisa Gay, and you're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Stephen Maggi.
Let's go to Vegas, baby. Let's go tonight. Let's go to Vegas. We'll stay up all night.
Welcome back to Vegas Never Sleeps with Stephen Maggi.
You are listening to Michelle Johnson, who will be starring in a tribute to Ella at the Smith Center on Friday, April 19th. I watch a lot of old television because I like to see it.
Me
right?
too.
You know, the old thing. And the one thing you see about Ella, I remember there was an Ed Sullivan and Sammy Davis, I guess, had wanted to sing with Ella, so Sullivan set it up. And you can just see watching this thing that Sammy was in awe. And another great song.
Everyone was in awe. Frank was in awe.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all of them. She's the best.
Yeah, and she was apparently very likable because
Yes.
people just wanted to be around her. You know, you never heard anything bad about her. You
Never.
know?
I mean, she was just one of the guys.
Well, we're going to talk a little more about that show in a few minutes, but
Okay.
I want to talk to you, first of all, about some of the people you have sung with. I mean, this list is unbelievable. You got Paul McCartney, Barbra Streisand, Elton John, Slash, Roseanne Cash. You have sung not only with all the greats, but across different genres.
Yeah.
Is that something you strive for, that you just not do one? You're not just a jazz singer. You can do all these different things.
Well, I like to say it's an offshoot of my ADD, because I have ADD, but I use it to my advantage. I don't like to just do one thing. And, you know, I think as a singer, it's great to have a singular passion, but it's also good to have things going on in the background that inform that passion. So I love jazz. I love singer-songwriter music, but I'll sing anything you ask me to sing because it teaches me and it grows me. And I've just been really lucky to be put in sometimes completely coincidental situations that end up leaving
there
me on a
ever one that
stage with someone great.
kind of surprised you? I look at this list and then Slash. Well, that's a whole other kind of music.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, the thing about the stories like the Slash story or the Paul McCartney story is some of these stories happen in the craziest of ways. Like my Slash story happened because I happened to be in the right bathroom at the right time when my zipper broke. I know this sounds weird. I hope this is okay for radio.
Yes,
but
it's
but
fine.
this woman was in the bathroom helping me with my zipper, and she asked me if I wanted to do a gig the next day because some singer dropped out, and it turned out to be with Slash. You know, it's like this kind of stuff just happens. It was Woodstock '94 with Slash and Paul Rogers from Bad Company. It was like this all-star band. Ended up singing backgrounds the next morning. You just have to be available for that.
Not only available, you got to be super talented because the next day, wow.
The next
I mean,
day.
that's not music necessarily that you were familiar singing, right?
No, but I am a person that likes to fly by the seat of my pants. I like to just jump in. I love singing. I have good ears. And I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy not knowing what's going to happen. When I met Paul McCartney, I was singing with a band called PM Dawn, and we were doing Earth Day. And he was the host of Earth Day. And this was back, I don't know if they still do this anymore, but you know how they have those concerts where they have act after act after act, like Live Aid and stuff like that? This was one of those, and everybody you can think of was on the bill. It was like Kenny Loggins and Katie Lang and
There's something for
Don
everybody.
McLean.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. So many people. And Paul was the big finisher. And because I was short, I got pushed somehow through the crowd to the front when he was doing Hey Jude, and he ended up grabbing my hand, and we ended up doing the end of Hey Jude, and I got a big solo, and it happened by accident.
The na-na-na-na.
The
part,
na-na-na,
right?
yeah.
Wow,
And I was
cool
just
is
like
that?
looking at him going, I'm singing na-na-na with Paul McCartney, and Ringo Starr was next to me and kept telling me how he couldn't sing right then because he just had some dental work done. And so he was mouthing to me like, I'm not going to be singing. And I'm standing there going, this is really happening right now. But these are the things that happen to me. I just end up in the right place at the right time. I ended up talking to Paul for about half an hour. So nice, so normal and nice and friendly. And I'm just blessed because that doesn't happen to most people where they get put in those situations. Sometimes it's on purpose. I got to work with Gladys Knight. That was, an audition and got that gig. Work with Sheena Easton. Those were regular gigs. But sometimes it's just a moment with some artist.
Isn't that amazing? I think you kind of have to be open to that because you strike me as like you didn't fall apart. I mean, some people who see Paul McCartney, right?
Well, let me just tell you about entertainers. We fall apart. We just do it inside. Trust me, inside I'm like peeing my pants, and outside I'm like, of course, Paul. How are you? Nice to meet you. But that you have to be like that because if you get starstruck, I mean, everyone gets starstruck.
Right.
I remember Gwen Stefani talking about getting starstruck over meeting Bono. And, she was so excited about U2. And she said she couldn't speak, and she was so excited. And I'm thinking, Gwen Stefani, she's a big star. What's she excited about? But it happens to anybody.
Yeah,
on the inside.
That's incredible. Yeah, right. And of course, when you're going to meet somebody like that, you want to be cool, right? I mean,
yes.
You don't want to.
I haven't. I don't think I've embarrassed myself yet. I got to do this thing with Barbara Streisand. My choir. I have a choir here in Las Vegas, and we do corporate events. It was a big gospel choir, and we do a lot of corporate events. But we also do shows. Like if a headliner comes to town and they need a choir for one of their numbers, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And so I got to meet her, but not the hello, how are you? Not with Babs. Like that doesn't happen. But I did. She did bow and nod and say thank you to me for my choir being there. And even in that moment, I remember thinking, don't do anything stupid. Like, because you always hear the stories, you're not supposed to make eye contact, but she's looking right at me.
Right.
She mouthed thank you and nodded. And I just went, you're welcome, like mouthing it while we're singing, and just so honored.
You'll hear more from Michelle Johnson in just a moment.
Now, let's return to Vegas Never Sleeps with Stephen Maggi.
You are listening to Michelle Johnson, who's had such an incredible career. She's sung with people like Paul McCartney, Slash, Barbara Streisand, and more. And I'm thinking, too, as you talked about how you listen, that fascinates me because I'm thinking you're going there and you're doing this a cappella work. Then you backup singing and all these different types of music and so forth. That just keeps sharp, I would imagine. Just keeps sharpening and sharpening. Now, you can hear anything, right? I mean...
I think I'm pretty good. I think I can hear most anything at this point. Yes, I think that if you stop doing it, it's just like a language. If you stop practicing, you do get a little dull. You're right. Sharpening is a great metaphor because I know sometimes I'll go through periods where I don't sing that much. I used to work at Apple. That was my other life. I used to work at Apple. You know, I told you I have ADD. So that was
not enough to keep you busy, right?
I'm really geeky, and I love Apple, and I used to work there. And there were a few months in there where I wasn't singing. I was just working there. I was a creative. I taught the classes on how to use all your Apple products. And I remember thinking, I better get back in the studio or better start rehearsing again because if I'm just doing this, I'm not going to have a good show because I haven't been singing. And you do feel the rust on you when you're not doing it regularly. So it's like anything else. It's like a regimen, you know.
So consequently, when you're in the audience, I went to a USC football. I went to USC and went to a football game and sat with a bunch of guys that were in the band. Yeah. The USC band's a big deal, and these guys would sit there and they would make comments not about what was going on the football field, but wow, that trombone really missed it on that one thing. Do you consequently, can you hear that when you go to a concert? Like, ooh, they kind of missed a little thing.
I can. I wish I would love to say I can't hear it, but I can. And I have this face I make that I've been trying. I can't not make it. Yep. And my head, do you remember the RCA dog that tilted its head? I am the RCA dog. If there's an off note or, even in a symphony, I can hear like the oboes flat or whatever. It's just drilled into me from childhood and from singing and listening. And I play piano, so I have an ear, and or even when I sing a note that's not perfect or not on, you'll see me doing the same tilting of the head while I'm singing, knowing, wait a minute, that's not perfect. So it's just something that I try to turn it off and just enjoy, but it's not easy. It's not easy to just sit back and not hear it. I try to go for the intention of the artist regardless, because you don't want it to just be about technical stuff.
Right.
Right. I mean, Ella Fitzgerald, I was listening to a recording yesterday of Let's Call the Whole Thing Off, and she's singing all the wrong words. Then she's singing Mac the Knife. These are recordings. Yeah. Mac the Knife, she starts making it up, and she starts singing. I don't know the verse, and I don't know what I'm singing in the recording. And to me, I love that. Yeah. I love that she was able to be goofy, which I am, and to make mistakes and make it, even her mistakes are legend. She's so good.
Well, that was... Just like with the Rat Pack, Sinatra changed a word here or there, and everybody loves that, right?
He was great at that. He was hilarious with that. Just make stuff up.
Yeah. I always remember that. The song "Come Fly with Me." There's like 5 or 6 different endings,
depending on what he drank and how he felt that day.
Exactly. And this is a great time. Let's talk about this concert. Okay. Folks, you gotta go to this. This is gonna be great. A tribute to Ella. It's Friday, April 19th. Starts at 8 o'clock. At one of the greatest places you can possibly play. No, not one of the places on the Strip, the Smith Center, which you got to love that, right? That is acoustically, it's fantastic.
Yes, it is so beautiful. And the Smith Center has three different spaces, or actually 4, depending on what kind of project you want to do. And a lot of people know the Smith Center from the Reynolds Hall, which is the big room where they do Broadway shows and symphony concerts. But Myron's Cabaret Jazz is this beautiful, absolutely beautiful, Art Deco designed, perfectly acoustic, small room. It holds 240 people. You can hear a pin drop when you're singing a ballad, which is why I like it. And the sound engineer is fantastic. Kevin Harvey is brilliant. And it's just a beautiful, small, intimate room where you can go and hear the kind of concerts you might hear at Jazz at Lincoln Center in New York. It's at that level. So I'm really honored that I've been able to do so many shows there. Truly.
Well, yeah, and everybody we've talked to, if they played Smith Center, that's their favorite place. Just right off the bat.
Yes, it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, I think part of it is because you can see everyone when you're singing, I do enjoy that. I enjoy that intimacy, but also it's classy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's no, I mean, I love Las Vegas. I love living here, but it's really nice not to be here, not to be hearing the ding, 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 you know, the machines
Yeah,
going
right,
off.
that crap.
There's no smoking allowed. Nobody just hit a royal. I mean, it's like a whole nother thing. And you literally disappear into the quiet of the moment when those shows are going on. I have seen some of the greatest shows there.
Yeah, it's like if you haven't been there, but you've been to some of those great clubs either in New York or San Francisco, Chicago, where it's just special, you know. And it has to. It's unfortunate, but you can't do that in a place that holds 30,000 people.
You
for
can't.
example.
It's a conversation and a relationship, and it's just intimate. And that's my preference. I'm more of a cabaret artist. I like to tell little stories and vignettes. I like to be able to walk out into the audience safely.
Right, exactly.
I like to see people after the show in a meet and greet in the lobby because it's right there. That's my jam. That's what I like. I
Yeah.
like the small spaces. I also love big theaters. I've done things in big theaters, but it's a different transaction.
And again, a perfect place to hear about Ella Fitzgerald's great music, her life, and this wonderful music. So I assume, first of all, we're going to be hearing a lot of those Gershwin and Porter songs that we're just, everybody associates her with some of that stuff.
You're going to hear some of the songs off of her different famous songbooks. You're also going to hear some of the songs she did earlier in her career when she was with the Chick Webb Orchestra. And we're going to do some things with horns, you know, it's like a big band setup, but some of the things are going to just be with guitar or maybe with bass so that we have some quiet moments too. And I think my goal in this show is to just teach people a little bit more about Ella than they might know now.
And what's great about that you're not only telling her story, but you can see those differences because there are just different ways she sings.
Exactly.
It's not all that one method.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just associate Ella with scatting because that's what she was just amazing at that. She sang like a horn player, basically, you know, like one of the horns in the band.
Instrument, right?
But for me, it's the lyric, it's the pitch, it's the perfection of her phrasing.
Yeah.
And I have an amazing guest on this show. I have Jane Monheit.
Wow.
As I'm saying it, I can't believe I'm saying it because I've been a fan of hers for so long. She is a Grammy-nominated amazing jazz singer who I became friends with because I kept going to see her at the same room. And we just started to chat, and she's just very inspiring. And I finally just said, hey, do you want to do this Ella show? And she said, sure. And my mouth dropped, and I said, oh, okay, I guess we're doing the Ella show. But Jane has a wonderful album that I think it's her latest album, is a tribute to Ella.
Oh.
So it kind of tied in, and I just thought of her.
Yeah.
And so she's going to be doing a few songs as well. And we're going to do some things together, and I'm just excited. I try to always have at least one guest in my shows because it breaks things up and it's more interesting to me.
You're listening to Vegas Never Sleeps with Stephen Maggi.
We are back with our final segment with jazz superstar and a really interesting person, Michelle Johnson.
Someone who'll watch over me.
I'm listening to you, and as you're talking about, just asking her, that had to be another one of those, like, hello, Sir Paul, or whatever. It's a big thing. And she says, yes, how great is that?
It is. And when I tell you how accessible she is, I mean, she's so nice, she's so friendly, she's so down to earth, and she's very grounded about her career. In fact, she really inspired me because I talked to her after one of her shows about her career, and she made a decision mid-career to take more control over her career. And we had a long talk about women and being in charge of your own career, your own image, how you present yourself, how you wear your clothes, everything, because those things get dictated to you. Not just women, men too. When you're in the industry, you know, you have your quote-unquote people telling you what to do. And when you get to that moment, like Prince did the same thing, he just got to a moment where he said, you know, this is my life and my career. Jane, for me, she just she lit a fire under me, and she made me realize, like, this is it. I got to do what I want to do. And so that's also another reason I invited her, was because she's a very strong, empowering woman, and her voice is insane. It's so beautiful. It's like liquid gold.
Yeah, well, so going back to Ella, I think, I heard Ella sing a song. It was the old Steve Allen song. It was his theme at one time. You're up Sardi's. It started something big. Thank you. Yeah,
great song.
And she puts her own spin on it.
That's it.
And I'd heard that song so many times, and I'd heard hers. Like, okay, well, I got to go to iTunes and buy this.
Yeah, it's like, you're right. It's a spin. It's a stamp. It's a specific trademark where you never have Ella start singing and you wonder who it is.
Right.
You know exactly who it is.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
One other concert you've got, and I want to make sure we talk about that too, because if you don't make this one, there's another opportunity. This will be on Thursday, May 16th at 7 p.m. at the Sun City McDonald Ranch in Henderson, and it takes two. And this is a completely different thing. Tell us what they're going to hear about there.
Okay, well, that's a show that I'm actually writing as we speak with my wonderful, wonderful musical partner and musical director, Jeff Nyman, who is just insanely talented. He's a pianist and a great arranger. And Jeff and I have been talking about doing something that's just the two of us instead of having a big band behind us. And so we're going to be doing this show at McDonald Ranch here in Henderson. And it is the music of great songwriting duos. So you're thinking of Gershwin's, you're thinking of Carole King and Jerry Goffin, for example, or Alan and Marilyn Bergman, like the great songwriting duos. There's so many legendary songs that have been written by two people. And we wanted to explore what's that like? Not just the songs, but what's it like to sit down with someone and have to get along with them and hack out amazing, legendary songs. So we're going to be doing a concert, just me and him on the piano, of different genres of duo songs that are...
And that's a whole nother experience, right? Because you kind of have to work... It's kind of like ice skating with ice skating pairs. You got to work with each other.
Exactly. And that's what we're exploring. So it's not just a concert, but it's also an exploration of what it takes for two people to sit in a room and create something. So it's going to be kind of arty.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about it. And it's a totally different vibe because, instead of having all these horns and instruments, it's just me and him.
Well, and if it turns out the way you want, I'm sure it will. Is this something you think, well, maybe we do more with this? Because that's really an interesting idea.
This is our first. I'm excited about it. But we've been talking about it for a long time. As much as I love traveling with musicians and having a ton of support on stage, it's a lot easier to just, you and the piano player, go and show up somewhere and play. So if we do a good job, which I think we will,
you will.
We'll be able to do this in cabarets across the country. So that's our goal.
Well, it's been great talking with you. Both of these are great concerts. Once again, we got the tribute to Ella over at the Smith Center. That's Friday, April 19th. And then on May 10th, it's a Thursday night, It Takes Two at the Sun City McDonald Ranch in Henderson. But if we want to just follow you for all the stuff, because you're around doing great things all the time, and we want to go and see them, where do we go?
You can just go to my website. It's www.michellejohnson.com. It doesn't get any easier than that.
Yeah, I love that. And you got one of those names, too, that we're not going to misspell it. Michelle Johnson, that's great.
With two L's. So michellejohnson.com. All my dates are on there. You can find out more about my bio. I'm writing a book. You can find out about that. Whatever you want to know, it's on there.
I can't wait to have you on again. We'll talk about the book.
Thank you. This was lovely. Thank you.